So Find the Link Parenting is session 9 today, and it's about empowering parents and raising change makers. If you are not busy, you can still invite somebody to this meeting. It's going to be an awesome meeting today, and an unusual and unique one as well. Like our speakers probably know, it might be on the YouTube channel called Temitope Praisingchild much later in the future. We have about 3 on there, but the rest of the sessions are going to get there later. So the aims of Find the Link series are to enlighten, empower, inspire, give. And special children in this episode, very unique episode we're having today, is highlighting special children, making a reference to children who may be difficult, different, challenged, or talented, and the peculiar challenges parents may have dealing with them. And we have 3 amazing speakers who will be talking to us about this topic. By the time they speak, you'll probably realize where and how they happen to be on this session. So one of them is going to be talking about a child who is very talented, a special child, we would say, according to our definition today. One of them is a specialist in their particular profession, but have had some challenges when they were younger. So they're going to talk about how they dealt with those challenges growing up. That makes them special, and that's part of why they're here. And it's going to be quite insightful as we go along. So our speakers today, Dr. Niyi Olabumuyi, I would introduce them just before their sessions. Dr. Tolu Alalade is in no particular order, and Adeola Osunkojo. And these are what they look like. You're going to be seeing them shortly because I'm going to put them on the screen. And next on Find the Link Parenting, we're doing special children today. Next week, we're going to be doing parenting with challenges. Supporting parents is the next session. Safeguarding children and young people is going to be our last session on the public Zoom. As I said, replays are on YouTube, Temitope Praisingchild. You can follow on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook page, or send me an email if you have some feedback. Okay, and our quotes for these sessions are, I and the children God has given me, we are for signs and wonders. And that's what we believe is going to happen. Okay. Okay, thank you, everyone. So I would just be putting my speakers on the screen. Going first is going to be Dr. Tolu Alalade. She works in the field of geriatrics, and she has a master's degree in health management. She also happened to be my schoolmate in school many, many, many years ago. Well, not up to 2 decades though, in the University of Ibadan. And we are very happy to have her here with us. I'm just going to pin her to the screen. We also have Dr. Niyi Olabumuyi, who is in the field of radio oncology. He's also the acting head of the Department of Palliative Medicine in the University College Hospital. He's also going to be speaking to us briefly about his experience. Also happens to be my schoolmate. Very connected to very fantastic people. Okay, and then we have Adeola Osunkojo. She is a film producer going global. She's an amazing lady, amazing speaker. I happened to be on a platform with her not too long ago, and I'm very, very honored that she's found some time to be with us today. And you'll be hearing about her story. From the first time I had her, I said, I think I need you to be on this session. I will find out why that has been inspiring. So lovely to have you all. I'll be taking you all off the screen till it's time for you to speak, and we'll be having Dr. Tolu Alalade with us now. Over to you, Tolu. Thank you for joining us.
Hi, thank you so much, Temi. You're almost exposing our age there when you're like many years ago we were in school. As it's not that many, we're still young. No expose our age.
Yes, in fact, what you kind of one wouldn't know at all, actually. So yeah.
I know, but just when the many was so many, I was like, it's not that many. Don't let them know. Do you mind enabling me so I can screen share?
Yes, I will. 1 minute.
So I'm going to talk in today about intentional parenting. I've got 2 children, by the grace of God. I've got a 12-year-old girl, Danielle, and David is 8 years old. So like Temi said, I work as a doctor. I just recently completed my MBA. With the parenting, my husband's a very busy one, so most of the physical parenting falls on me. I'll give you a bit of background about the children. They both have some similarities. Both were born by emergency cesarean section because I had preeclampsia twice. So that's high blood pressure in pregnancy with this complication. So I was pretty much in the hospital a week, maybe a bit more after the birth for my son. So I had this complication during pregnancies for both of them. With their personalities, they are both pretty much introverted and quite sensitive children. We need to work on the handwriting for both of them. It's a work in progress. And for them to go over their work, it's a pretty big deal, especially when they finish on time. For them to be able to go back, it's a big deal for them. In terms of their nature, they're both very competitive. They are voracious readers. They do like reading. They're very, very good, by the grace of God, with the academics. By nature, by nature. Hobbies, they both like food, and not just eating food. It's about preparation of food, presentation of food. We sit down and watch food programs. They absolutely both, love it. They give very obscure and creative, names to food. I wonder where they get that from. I don't know. When it comes to sports, they are hobbies. So hobbies, apart from food, they both like football in equal measure. They know all these, very strange facts about football, and all of us were looking, forward to tomorrow. We're going to make a good movie night with that. When it comes to sport, they're both very good with short distance, running and long jump. So their personalities, one of them is quite assertive, very sure of, what they want, and they go for it. And they're quite very ready to make friends wherever they are. They would quickly make friends. The other one is not as assertive, can be a bit shy, and you sort of have to just push along to get to where we're going to. In fact, one of them, there was a school play she wanted to get a role for, and she didn't get the particular role she wanted. And I was trying to tell her, don't worry, whatever role they give you, just make the best of it. Maybe we could, have a meeting with the teacher and ask, why you didn't get that role, so we can work towards getting the next time. And she just looked at me and was like, oh, I already asked. So I said, no, I mean, we'll have a meeting with the teacher and ask, she said, no, I already asked. I'm like, oh, okay. What the teacher said was like, I don't know, it's just, but that she would just go and why didn't I get that role kind of person. When it come to getting result, one with routine and discipline, with a set of guidance rules, will get to that point. And it's sort of like, show me what to do and we'll get there together. And it's pretty much quite easier, like Sunday morning when it comes to parenting. The other one a bit more painful, pretty much like going to the dentist and just pulling out, your tooth. And, you do feel, there's a lot of effort going on in here. With the personality type, we'll talk a bit more about personality like a bit later. But I think one is pretty much, a flecker. If you know about personality types, so that's a mixture of phlegmatic and a choleric. So the combination of, quite easygoing, natural leader, confident, independent. The other one, I'm not quite so sure, but maybe a male phleg. So also some phlegmatic personalities and some melancholic personality types, in sort of finding it a bit difficult to make friends and trying to be perfectionist and remembering, the negatives. Like I mentioned, one is a bit more easy and the other one is a bit more tactical and on your knees praying. And towards each other, one, although they have their banter, one would more readily, go like, look, you're my sibling, I do like you. And the other one would not readily show that side of them. The reason why I went through this is that to be able to bring out the best in our children, you must be able to know them, as in know them like nobody else would. Take time to get to know them. What is their strength? What is their weakness? What is their personality type? And it just, points, give us a good direction in how to parent them. And I have this thing I say that, when it comes to, parenting children, we should, treat each child distinctly but fairly. I don't believe in treating children the same because they are not the same. So in terms of treating each child, you should be tailor-made for them. And that's how we can bring out the best in them. So it's not like, okay, everybody, you're going to follow this. No. But when you look at them and see what they're made up of, then you can say, okay, I'm going to treat it, but it should be fair. And then we'll learn more of that as we go on. So I've got some quotations here about intentional parenting. The first one says, my doctors told me I would never walk again. My mother told me I would. I believed my mother. And if we go and read about it, it's about Wilbur, who eventually became an Olympian. Another one says, the way we talk to our children becomes their inner voice. So let's be cautious in the way we talk to them. Let's be mindful that we want to get the message across in the best way. Because when we are not there physically, that voice, it's there. Do you hear that reassuring, motivating, inspirational voice? Or do you hear that, shouting, irritated, so be mindful of what you want them, especially when they maybe go away to the university or even when they're in the next room to you. When they remember you, how do they do that? And the last one, encourage and support your kids because children are apt to live up to what you believe of them. We have to be their best cheerleader and believe the best of them to be able to bring out the best in them. And that's from one of the former First Lady of the United States. So again, when it comes to intentional parenting, let's be very mindful of what we do because children are like sponges. They just soak up what they see around them. So we might not be verbally saying things to them, but they can see what we're doing and they, take that on board. For example, what is important in your life? It's not to sit them down and say, oh, God is important to me. You must be hardworking. You must read your book. When they see you do that, that is enough preaching. So let's be very conscious of what we do and how we prioritize things. Or we have so many things, lined up. Which one is more important to us? When we have to, you can get extra pay at work or go to church. Which one do you choose? You have taught them a lesson, even without speaking to them. And how to relate to people. You're driving on the road, someone just crosses, in front of you, road rage, you start shouting at them, you have essentially taught them how to treat people, or, your line is supposed to be lining up and you just find your way and maneuver your way to go and stay in front, teaching everybody. You have taught them a lesson in life. You just go and disregard what everybody feels. In the same way, acceptable behavior, you might have a neighbor who keeps parking in your driveway or who keeps blaring, loud music. How do you do that? Do you go there and knock and show them who you are? Or do you go gently and have a conversation with them? They are watching how we do these things and picking them up. When it comes to values and discipline, again, how do you discipline them? Do they know why they're being disciplined? And the discipline you're giving them, is it fair on them? Is it too much? Is it too little? What value do you place on things? What value do you place on getting to work on time? What value do you place on, having your study period or prayer time? All those things we see, you always make time for things that are important to you. So whatever you make time for, they know that it's important to you and you prioritize them. The values of being kind and generous and being mindful of others around you. Again, priorities, like I mentioned, when it comes to, God and money and all those virtues, the way they see us do things, we are teaching them unconsciously how to do things in life. I talked a bit about temperament and personality, and the why I was saying that, again, about not believing, about treating the children the same, is that we have 4 main personality traits. There are many, categories and definitions, but this is one of the more, common ones. And it's very into the choleric, melancholic, sanguine, and a phlegmatic. We can go back and read more on that. So if you have a sensitive melancholic, the way you treat that child is not the same way you treat a sanguine. So for example, you have a child who's sensitive, like one of mine is, you have to be firm with them, but you have to be gentle. Because if you go any other way and not gentle with them, they're not getting the message, they're just getting hurt. At the same time, if you got a sanguine whose schedule is more than your own and wants to join this club and join that club, and all of a sudden you're like, is rivaling your own schedule as well. So you have to sit them down. Okay, it's good you're doing this, but let's look at it. You're already doing this 10 a.m. on Saturday. You're doing this at 12 p.m. You're doing this at 2 p.m. Where would you fit in time for this? So sit down together with them and sort of say, oh, okay, how will this work? What is the priority? How are you going to fit it in? And that's what I mean by sitting each child down and treating them, because you've taken the time to know them. It's a destination. You keep knowing them every day, but you have an idea of, what kind of child they are, and it helps us to bring out the best in them. Another good thing will be parenting styles. Again, there are so many types, when it comes to parenting styles, but this is, again, one of the more common ones in terms of the authoritarian, the neglective parents, the indulgent parents, and the authoritative parents. Just quickly, the indulgent ones, it might be because they're very busy, career orientated, so many things going on. Anything the child wants, they just give the child, or a single parent who's feeling quite guilty that they're bringing up the child alone and you don't have a mother or father nearby, partner nearby, and just give them everything you want. Or the neglective ones, again, could be a very busy parent or one who's had a very traumatic childhood or a lot of things going on, and you just sort of do not even see the child at all. So you just had the children you see wearing one blue socks and one red socks, or you see them, their shoes are too short for them. They don't even notice that, oh, I need to change this child's dress because it's too small for them. And then we have the authoritarian, which is supposed to be a very good combination of sitting down with your children and discussing with them, okay, this is the issue, what's the best way about it? Okay, this is what I think, what do you think? And coming together to a happy medium. And we have the authoritative who just, lays down rules. Again, could be one who, that's the way they've been brought up. They don't know any other way. Or again, they might just be very, very busy. This is the rules. I don't want to hear about it. Just do it this way. They're not listening to the child. The child doesn't feel that they're being listened to. So in summary, those are the 4 parenting styles. So there might be a mixture of that in our parenting styles from time to time. So maybe at a point, like I just finished my study. So at that time I was quite busy. So things are just like, look, I need to read and everything. Or sometimes maybe, like I said, sometimes you might not have your partner with you and you have a lot going on, but you have one that is majorly you. So let's try as much as we want, try to be authoritarian and listen to your children and then have that conversation about things going on. I'm almost coming to an end. Practical steps to build exceptional children. It cannot be overemphasized about the importance of investing time in our children. We're all busy, a lot is going on, but every little that we do really helps. So one we can do is, bedtime routine where you read the book to them, read the Bible with them, pray with them, sort of ask what's going on. But that's not enough, because that's what, like 5-10 minutes. We need to find more time where we play together with them and we eat together with them. If it's 1 meal a day, if it's breakfast or dinner, whichever one works for you, to sit down with them and sort of have that conversation going and invest time with them. Like I said, anything that is important to you, you will find time for. So they're important to us. Let's find time for them. I grew up a Methodist, and the founders of Methodism, Charles and John Wesley, their mom, Susanna Wesley, I think she had 19 children, but 10 surviving or something like that. And it's known that she didn't preach or go to school. She had a lot of children in her hands, but she invested time in those children. And that's one of the things she homeschooled them, and she had each time a specific time for each children, which is quite difficult when you're having 10 children. You just want to grab all of them, let's go to the park together. We all love you, let's go to the cinema together. We all love you, let's walk down together. So they don't feel special that way, because it's just easier for you to, okay, all of you play cricket, but when we take out that time, and so that's for every child you have, do you have time for that, to have that time to invest in them? So take one of them, have someone look after the other, and okay, this is me and you time, what's going on? The child feels special and, can come out to you and have that relationship. The second one is building a strong identity. So basically it's, I do this thing once in a while with my children where I take them in front of the mirror and tell them and ask them, what do you see? Initially it was like, what, but it's that time to look and say, okay, what do you see? And it just sort of does affirmation about them and, speaking into their life, and they speaking into their lives and emphasizing what you see that is good in them, or, that strong points, and just sort of, talking about ways that, that used to this, when you're not there, they can build themselves up when they need to. Challenging negatives. So these are like experiences or things they go through which may otherwise lead to a low, morale in them or poor self-image. So it might range from bullying to, children can be quite cruel for many reasons, but for whatever it is, once you identify what that is, you have to be able to, together with them, get through that bridge. Okay, what is the problem? Okay, this is the attitude, this is how you're going to behave, and say that there was a time my son was in the school play, and I think it was actually a nativity play, but it was I think it would turn out to be a rabbit, I think. And his friends were, oh, you're a rabbit, and you really just found it very uncomfortable. And we just, made it, okay, do you know what? If you're a rabbit, I'm a rabbit as well. And we call ourselves rabbits, for the next 1 week until the program. But just making it might be something more, serious than that, but in terms of just going through it with them together with the right attitude. Loving discipline. If you really love your children, you have to discipline them. But how do you discipline them? Let's be very conscious about what we do in terms of discipline. Let's be careful about what we say to them, because there's power in the words of our mouth. Don't, because of your anger, say things to them that you don't mean. eggs once spilled is very difficult to scoop up. So it coincides with the next one, the language of correction. Let's correct them in love. Let's say things to build them up, and sort of work out the best way to discipline them. And the home environment, let's make it a very conducive one for them. Not when we are, fighting with a partner or shouting, or, but let's make it a comfortable one for one they're happy to come home to, and thrive in. So that will be my last slide. Thank you very much for listening.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm sure we've gained a lot of insights from your session. I had particularly heard about one of your children and not the second one, but I can see that both of them are amazing, even though maybe they are both introverted. But I heard a lot about one of them, especially when she's among other people, how she takes the leadership role, how she shows up in different scenarios. And I thought it was very inspiring, and we'll be able to learn from you. So I guess we had gotten a tip of the iceberg. I'm happy to hear that we don't have to be all married to a neurosurgeon, and we don't all have to have MBAs as mothers to have exceptional children, but there are things that are going to help us in the journey. And you've shared a lot of them that are practical, and you've broken them down in a very organized fashion. Thank you so much. And I can see Dr. Alalade earnestly supporting his wife here. And yes, so kudos to you. Thank you so much. I'm sure some other people may have questions for you. I don't know whether there are any questions right now, but there might be some before the end of the session. So I'm going to bring you back at some point to give us your final words or to answer any questions, if that's okay. I'm hoping you are able to stay with us till that time while we just get through the session. Is that okay? Or if you have a problem with it, then
that is okay. Yeah. You're stuck with me today.
We appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I will just be moving to Dr. Niyi Olabumuyi, who is going to give us his special points about parenting special children. Welcome, Dr. Olabumuyi.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Just to be sure.
Yes, I can hear you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me on your platform. As introduced Niyi Olabumuyi. The story of parenting usually, or of individuals of note, usually leads back to their parents. For instance, I remember watching the Ben Carson movie, and the earlier parts of the movie, you would think the movie was about his mother and not about him, because practically almost all the lessons I learned from the earlier part of the movie was about the kind of positive impact his mother made on how his life turned out. And so it is with me, not comparing myself to Ben Carson, but I'm just saying, so it is with me. So I'm here speaking as not a parent of a, I'm not here to speak about a parent of a special child, but as a special child who has grown up to become a man and also then became or has become a parent himself. Well, unfortunately, or I would just say that I'm not the type of special child that parents pray to have. I was born with what called hemoglobin S, homozygous hemoglobin S, so I have sickle cell anemia, what people colloquially call sickle. So yeah, I'm that person. So I'm here to speak about my experiences and kind of like a story about what I went through from being born to now. So all along, when my mother would warn me not to play rough or to be careful, I just thought being a sickle was just a label. Not that she was not doing the labeling, she was just being cautious. Because in terms of labeling, I remember at a point in time in my life, we were in the UK when my child was doing his residency training, and I fell ill. And so I was on mission. The social workers came to meet my dad to say there's some special school that people like your son would probably benefit from. And I was like, okay, all right, just go and talk to his mom. And my mom, because she was in education, she said, no, no way, I'm not going to a special school. I'm going to go to the same school that every other person would go to. And she always says that the testimony there, because at the end of that session, just like Tolu's children, I played in the nativity play. And she would always, tomorrow she would say, see your motor Nicholas special school. Oh, she played lovely at the end of that year. So she wasn't labeling me. She was just telling me to be careful. She always wanted me to reach for the best in everything I could possibly do. I, as a child, maybe because of the grace of God upon my life, that I didn't have illnesses earlier on, I always felt it was just a label. I just thought it was something that made me tired easily when I'm playing football. Stop. I'm coming back. So I just used to get tired easily. I just people would play for 30 minutes, I would play for 5 minutes, have to go and rest for 2 minutes, come back again, play for 5 minutes, rest for 2 minutes. So, and then I also know that it was something that made my eyes yellow. So that's all I thought it was. Until I think when I got to my teenage years, and I had my first bone pain crisis. It was a terrible, gruesome experience. But my mom was there to support me, and she took me to the doctor and cared for me. The other thing that now really cemented the hope that really sickle in the team. I had a chronic leg ulcer, which took me from teenage up to adults, and still had to go through nursing chronic leg ulcer. Now, so that's from my own point of view. Then from the society point of view, another thing that cemented or made me think of this sickle cell thing is that while I was in med school, there were these junior people, by a couple, they were both in med school, and they kind of liked each other. They were together throughout medical school. And when we started house job, I think I was working in USH as a medical store resident. While they were doing house job, I noticed that they just weren't together anymore. And I had courage to talk to the guy. I said, how about this lady? I see you, what's up with this lady? What happened? And he said, well, we had to stop seeing each other because of jails. I was very sad. So sad. I was sad because I didn't like seeing the fact that two people who love each other that much couldn't get to marry each other. And another reason why I was sad was that I couldn't point at myself and say, hey, look at me. I'm SS. I couldn't actually point out myself and say that because, like then I was already working with crutches and all those kind of things. I couldn't even say, well, if you look at me, probably people would say, don't marry each other. But then I'm sure, maybe Timmy wouldn't call me here to speak if there aren't some, good things or successful stories that I could offer. So first of all, I'd like to say one of the biggest things that helped me from birth to now is the grace of God. Because, like most diseases, like congenital disease, like a spectrum of severities. Like I said, I didn't know when I was in primary school, people know just what something made me tired. There are some people that from 6 months to 9 months, they have swelling fingers, always getting blood transfusions and all that. So it was the grace of God that made me to be able to lift up to them. I felt I can do whatever that person can do. If I was, always in and out of hospital, I probably would have already come to that town. That's not like another person by age 2 or 3. But the fact that the grace of God made me do things like take to everybody, to basketball, God next and things very well. So I did thank God for what position of the spectrum, this disease condition that I actually fall in. The next thing I would like to thank God for is the good parenting. Now, my parents instilled a lot of hope in me. My mom, for instance, would say something that I always say to myself right now. She would say, Right, I would say, so if I would agree with that, if my mates are climbing Mount Everest, my mates climb Mount Everest, will you allow me to climb it? What are you saying? Maybe stop winding me, Jerry. But it has actually stuck with me. That time has stuck with me up to my adult. That every time I'm going for something, maybe an exam or anything, I remember I say, it has been very helpful to me. She was, she instilled a lot of hope in me and for me to be able to continue to aspire to different levels of successes. I thank God for that. Another thing that we valued a lot was knowledge and know-how. So, she sought out knowledge from my friends. I think my dad's a doctor, but my mom too was very knowledgeable when it comes to this condition. So quite a lot of times she'll just come before I go out and something, she'll come, touch my skin. I'm like, what are you touching now? You say, yeah, let me see your eyes. I'll say, how are you doing? They'll stick out your tongue. What is all this? You're not even the doctor. Why are you the one stressing me like this? So she was quite knowledgeable and, would focus on knowledge and look for every way in which she could help with anything. Even if some of them want to work, you look for one juice that she said, this juice works better. They say sugarcane is good. They say sugarcane is good. They say this is good. We always helping to, she's really sought knowledge, and that knowledge was very helpful in terms of preventing, severities and what to do when, crisis come along. In terms of limitation, my parents didn't limit me in terms of mentally. There was no mental limitation from no psychosocial limitation. And physically, I thank God for the fact that they didn't really limit me physically. Sometimes that they come and say, me get inside while my brother is still playing outside, but they still me get inside. But it still didn't limit me physically. It was the best that I could, achieve. So advise me not to play contact sports, I play tennis, basketball, and football, but they still didn't limit me mentally, physically, socially, and even physically. And then they also instilled a lot of patience in me. I must say it's a trying condition from the point of view of the parents. It's also a very trying condition from the point of view of the individual with the disease. So I had to learn a lot of patience going forward in my life. At times, some of my classmates were feeling that they didn't even do house job. When they did house job, I had to go for a year or two for surgeries or so. Some of those surgeries even failed. That's why I learned how I learned that the teachers' complications in med school for a reason, because those surgeries I went to were complicated. So I had to learn patience at the, they had to start to learn. I like to also have to learn. And another thing that's helped me a lot is my friends and associates. I would like to say that for somebody who has a disease condition, one of the best things that you can do is become a doctor. Not because of your own knowledge and you can help yourself, but because of the people you'll be around, the friends you make, the people who have empathy towards you. I've had almost all the friends I made in med school are people who would show empathy, people who would actually give me ideas of why don't you do this. I'm not even talking medically. If I say maybe like before I was coming from home to UI like every day because I just didn't know how I would cope with Lagos and then living in the campus. But I shared it with some of my friends and said, you put the back this way, wake up early this way and do this, do that. So that's how I got to be a person who live on campus. Otherwise, maybe I've spent my whole med school coming from home. But with the friends I made with empathy and understanding that gave me ideas and were helpful to me. And that's another thing my mom says. She's always thanking God for the kind of friends I made. She up to this day, she keeps saying like, when you need good friends, yes, you're a good friend. And now here I'd like to talk about some certain drawbacks that came from growing up special. I've already touched on it earlier on, but it took a lot of patience to cope with, bone pains, to cope with, nursing in Lagos, to cope with getting tired every now and then. And to even just say, when people are saying, like, I remember one of the times that I had I rewounded my wound was when I went to Isamune Hill with the class to go time hill. So like, Why did I even go and climb that hill? Anyway, I have to go to someone hill to climb the hill. So I took a lot of patience to know that, well, maybe, yes, you've been all this while, you've tried your best to do everything every other person is doing, but maybe you should just not, there's something that are just not for you. It's not that you're limiting yourself, it's just, like a cock is a cock. It cannot fly like it cannot soar like an eagle. The cock should not say, I can soar like an eagle and jump off the cliff. The cock will die. So maybe because there's a point in life that you have to just accept who you are. Then I don't know if this is me or if it pertains to everybody with sickle cell, but I know that it seemed as if it's also affecting me psychologically. It seemed as if my maturity and development was a little bit, it seemed as if I was just a slow bloomer or something like that. Because looking back in my 20s, I felt like I acted like a teenager. In my 30s, I felt like I acted like I was 26. So I don't know if it's just me. Most likely it's just me, but it might be, I don't know. But I just, sometimes I see things, I look back and I think of the things my classmates did that I didn't understand well when I was their mates. But now I'm beginning to understand them. So I don't know whether that developmental bit, maybe the environment, maybe the whole basics, I don't do this, that tell me. Then a lot of times I also still keep wondering how life would have been if I wasn't a sailor. If I wasn't this places, I still keep wondering. But what makes me to, come full cycle and accept is that a lot of good things have happened to me along the way. I'm not too sure I would have met the woman I married if I wasn't his BSS. I'm not too sure I would have had the son I have if I wasn't his BSS. And so based on that, based on the good that's happened to me by the grace of God, I want to accept the special things about me. However, I still have hope based on technology and medical advances that keep coming up with new drugs and then systems like radiotherapy, stem cells, smaller things like bone marrow transplants and things like that. So I'm hoping that in the future, that couple that I met in med school, those two people similar to them in the future med schools that like each other, but they happen to be SAS. I'm hoping that in 2 generations' time, it won't be a no-go area. You'll probably be able to marry each other. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much, Dr. Olabumuyi. That has been an amazing presentation. I know you've been saying that you just need 5 minutes, but it has been very inspiring and definitely more than 5 minutes. You actually have a lot to say. I can see a few similarities between what you and Dr. Tolu Alalade have said, especially about speaking to children and positive self-talk, what your identity, your true identity is. I'm happy you've touched on the parts that the grace of God plays. And even though you are hopeful about advances in medical science, it is good to know that you already have hope in God that is unshakable and that has brought you this far. And that's amazing. So big kudos to your parents for doing all they did. I think parenting is more or less a lifetime duty, and it's amazing and inspiring to see that you are a parent and you are enjoying every phase of your journey and God has helped you. That is very, very inspiring. Thank you again for coming on this platform. I'm sure some of us, Niyi happens to be one of the tallest in our class, and we used to call him Longus. And he has a very peculiar sense of humor. I guess most of us have known him from a distance, but it's lovely to hear this story up close and personal. And I'm sure it's changed our perspective about how we think about things. So thanks once again. I don't know whether anyone has questions for you, but I can see a lot of comments or comments coming in for you. Thanks for gracing the occasion. And so we'll be moving to our third speaker, Adeola Osunkojo. She's based in Lagos, Nigeria. She's a television film writer, producer, and director. She served as a content director on MTN's Project Fame West Africa for 7 seasons. She has directed reality format shows, has a lot of television drama, directorial credits. And I'm about to get into a tongue twister. A passionate believer in Nollywood. She's looking at me like, really? You're not going to read it all, are you? She bagged her first and second degrees in theatre arts from the University of Lagos, and she is going places. I think I've mentioned before that I met her at another speaking engagement. She also lectures in 2 universities. But anyway, let me stop saying all her story. Lovely to have you again with us, Adeola. I'll just put
Thanks
you
for
spotlight. Yes, over to you.
All right. Good day, everyone. My name is Adeola Osunkojo. I most likely at this point, I don't have kids, so I'm going to talk about my experience as a child. I'm still a child of my parents.
So are we
So
all.
my,
So are we
my
all.
I have my mother saying, even if you have 70, you're still my baby because I'm her last child. So it's
Oh.
very interesting. I'm last child of about 10 children, so it's a very interesting mix. Okay, so this is pretty emotional for me. Like, I know that I even gave our hosts problems because at some point I was like, I genuinely don't even put my picture, don't put my name, don't say anything, don't like. I just, because for me it's not really the most fun place to go, but I have to at each point. I feel like, for that to happen in my life, I think that God has a reason for it to happen, so that it can help other people, and I can learn to trust Him some more. I remember things in pictures. I didn't learn to walk fast or talk fast. Like my mother said, there's a picture of me in the house. I think I was about 1 or 2. They had to use a bottle and spread my legs so I can stand. But, so I remember that I went to St. Leo's Catholic School. I feel like missionary schools are very awesome up until the primary school level. Sorry for those who went to universities, missionary universities, but I just feel like primary school education is the first step you have, and it's always fantastic doing that, because I realized that some of the behaviors I have with prayer and things came from going to a Catholic school. I remember that we did odd number and even number. It was 1992. And I remember that I was in the class because I didn't finish like everybody else, because it takes a while for me to learn. It takes a long time for me to learn. Up until now, it takes a really long, I have to read extra to learn. And I think one of the interesting things about the way I learn is that there are books that I've read that I probably will read it like 4 years ago. I'll not remember it, or I'll not understand it. So I remember, I'll not understand it. I remember one day vividly that I gave instructions on a set. I was directing Flatmates that time. I gave a direction on the set, and immediately when I said that thing, pictures just flashed into my memory. I had read that thing 3-4 years ago, did not understand it. It was that day that I gave that instruction that I understood it. So I have a very interesting brain and how it works. So, of course, at that time, 6 years old, I didn't know that I was in primary 2. So I remember the headmistress said, let her go out and play. You can't leave her in the class just because she didn't finish. Let her go out and play. So I played a bit, and then I have my immediate elder sister is Ayo. Ayo is the perfect child, smart, cute, well behaved. Me, very naughty. Like my mother would say that if you want her to do something, tell her opposite, because if you tell her don't do, that's exactly what she'll do. Like I was very interesting child, not everybody's favorite. I didn't do people's little brides because I was too naughty, and I was always crying. Any little thing, oh, right. So I remember that I showed Ayo that, see, I don't understand this. It's odd number and even number. She was like, Jola, it's so easy. It's so easy. This is how you do it. And then they rang the bell. So of course break was over, and so I had to sit down. So I had learning disabilities. I couldn't just learn things fast. I remember that we moved from Ikeja down to the end of the world, which was the Paja at that time. And I remember that they moved me from primary 2 to 4. Big leap. I was still struggling with 2. And then they now moved me. I was supposed to go to primary 3. They moved me to primary 4 in a substandard school from what I was used to. I was going to a school where teachers don't necessarily beat you anyhow, where they assume that you must have your breaks as a child. You have those moments where you're supposed to go to the library and read, and you have your nuns teaching you. Like, that was a perfect atmosphere to this horrible looking place with horrible teachers who spent a lot of time just degrading me just because I didn't learn fast. And that's one thing again. And yes, I teach in a couple of institutions. One of them is PAU, Pan Atlantic University. I teach production management. And one of the things I've learned as, with teachers, when I flash back to some of the teachers I had in primary school, is that they were horrible human beings. Because you see, you can't reduce a child's mental ability to numbers. Just because a child doesn't learn things as fast as everybody else doesn't mean that that child doesn't know anything. It just means that it just takes a while and they have a different way of learning. So I used to get persecuted and being beaten by teachers. But the interesting thing is that when I got back home, my grandma, who was a school teacher, back in the day, would give me a drink when my results came out and I was maybe like number out of 20, 36, I was 30, 32. My grandma would give, I remember vividly, that's the thing, I remember things in pictures, not in numbers. So that's another interesting way that I learn things. I remember that my grandma would give me Pepsi and tell me, don't worry, you will know this book one more way. I remember she used to tell me that. She didn't chastise me and say I didn't do anything. She used to just encourage me to read, encourage me to study, not beat me, but encourage me. And because I, of course, the perfect child, would get between first to third. So my grandma gives her Pepsi, I get Pepsi too. I wasn't one of those kids who would be scared to go home because like, who's chasing me? Like that's not going to happen. And my father at some point had to go to school because they complained about my learning. And he did not, for some funny, which is interesting because I feel like my parents are not necessarily the posh parents where, oh, they've been so exposed to child development and they just followed their hearts with dealing with their child. He didn't come to insult me or say, oh, you're a horrible person. He just says, read, you know it. And then when I make mistakes, he corrects me. Pretty much that was it. And just like my mother would do the exact same thing. So I had parents who just did their best to just encourage me and not say negative things to me. Never have I heard one thing that is negative being said to me. All my mother did was just encourage me to get better. My mother, my father, my grandmother, even my sisters. And that's the thing. In recent times, one of my family members, they beat her because she didn't do well in school. And I was so angry. I was so mad because how can you do that? Because you see, what will happen is that she'll keep attaching that schoolwork to pain. The best thing to do is encourage the child. And then she says that my mind goes away. Like she's trying to explain that she just can't keep, it's most like ADHD, but I can't tell African parents that they'll freak out and they say that you're saying something bad about their child. But I understand exactly what she's going through. And and that's one of the reasons why I said, you know what, I really should do this, because I was going back and forth about, whether or not to talk about it. Is that when a child is not doing well in school, try and have a conversation with the child. And the thing I realize is that, and this is my own experience, not as a parent, but as a child, and even my interaction with some of my nieces and nephews, is that I've realized that it's the way you talk to each other, they respond to you. If you're talking to each other like they have little mental ability, they're going to respond to you that way. The way I speak to my niece is adult. So what are your plans? So what are you thinking? Why do you? And when she talks to me back, she says things like, she could tell me things as clearly as, you hurt my feelings. And I'll be like, gosh, I'm just 6 years old. Like, okay, so I maybe apologize and then we have a conversation. So that's one of the things. It's good to have, a straight conversation with a child, find out what is going on, and then do something. Like when teachers come and bully, I think it's the African thing that they do when someone reports your child to you, you feel like, oh, you don't want to hear that child side of the story. You immediately start punishing the child so that it looks like, oh, I'm the good parent, I'm the great parent. Kumbaya, oh my Lord, Kumbaya. It doesn't work. I really feel like it doesn't work like that. When teachers do things like bullying, I remember that they used to sing songs to insult I remember that they used to draw, like if they put 0, they'll draw circles and draw. Like that is so, and I feel like as parents, what you can do is protect your child from people like that when they do that, because it's abuse. It really is. It really and truly is. Because I realized that, and because also as a director, I understand that even when you're dealing with actors, you have to create an environment for them to perform well. So you can work with a great actor and not get the best, because what you're doing is probably chastising them or making them feel some type of way. So, I had that experience in primary school, and then up to my junior secondary school, I had that, and I think I just thought to myself, I'm more than this. I think maybe what I've heard over time just dawned on me that I can do better. So I went to arts class because that's what I wanted to do, and I just started reading more. I started reading and studying, and I also had parents who would buy me books, no matter how ridiculous it was. My father is dead, and I have a book. It's written by Ahmed Yerima. Ahmed Yerima is one of the teachers that really helped me in uni. And I remember that I was doing my thesis, and I needed a book. The book was not out in print, but he told me that the book was, someone had written a book about it. My father went all the way to Spectrum Books in Ibadan and got the book for me. In fact, they told him to go, that the book is not ready. But I think someone just felt pity that this man that came all the way from wherever he came from to in Ibadan to come and get a book. And then my father got me the book. And so I had parents who would go the extra mile. I'm not going to get trips to Disney World or to Paris or extra swimming classes or any of those things, but at least the basic things that I needed in terms of my education as well, I got it, and I was really encouraged. So I did so well in school. I became the number 0 in class to number 1, or between number 1 to 10, and it picked up, and then of course I went to the university, and for the first time then I also had great teachers. I had one of my teachers, Mr. Rami, they used to encourage me. He just thought I was intelligent. And I realized that, that the teachers that you have, and even now as a teacher, I have to lecture final year students, and, some of them are even older than me. They look like they are my parents. For first time, when some of them see me for the first time, they're like, it's your first time teaching. And I'm like, I just taught your master's class. So I have that, when, I remember that we're talking about production. I'm sorry, I'm going, pulling things from everywhere, but just bear with me, please. I remember that I was teaching them about production, health, safety in production sets. We talked about the physical safety and mental safety. And I remember that my class was very quiet, and one of my students shared my exact same story. She's one of my best students, Chika. And Chika told me that, because she also was adversely treated in school, she decided that she had to work hard because she didn't want anybody to insult them. So a lot of times when people think about the fact that some of those teachers who chastised and berated and degraded students who weren't doing good, that, they push some of us to become better. Not everybody was able to cross that boundary. A lot of them, it of course affected our self-esteem. A lot of us who had that issue of self-esteem. I remember that there were times that I used to ask, so what's the lowest score? So once I found out the lowest score, I know that, okay, maybe if the lowest score is like 3/10, I know that maybe I'll be like 4/10. So at least, so that, really screwed with me. But by the time I got to uni, it was a different ball game entirely. I finished up of my class, went on to do my master's. I'm doing my PhD right now, which I struggle with, and I'm being honest, because for me, I'm still learning, and I love to learn. I'm the one that I love school. Oh goodness, I love school, but I still have my struggles, and I'm still working to finish my PhD as well. So one of the things I'll just say really is that people are different, and parents need to just learn to be kind to your children. Understand that when we give a child an A or a B, it just shows what they have done on paper. It's not really a picture of what they really have in their mind. And I'm going to explain. There's this girl, Atinuke, who didn't really used to talk in my class much. Like, she didn't really used to talk in my class. I didn't think she was like the most intelligent in the class. but I read her assignments, the first one and the second one. Usually when someone copies, they might not get the same copying service for the second assignment. They can get for the first one. But I saw her first assignment. I saw her second assignment. I was like, goodness gracious, so intelligent. So a lot of times, but if I just, how should I put it? A lot of times, most people just think that, oh, this number shows my child's ability, or because my child doesn't talk too much in class, that doesn't mean that means that the child is not intelligent. It's not that. All of us have the tendency to be great people, to do great things. It's just how to encourage and help the child. And I like Dr. Tolu said, she said that different children, like different ways, different children, different abilities, different temperaments, different way of handling things. And it's always best to be able to identify that. And even in the course of teaching, I also realized that I also had to learn to identify that in my own students. That I had some people who were like the brightest, but I also had some people in diamond in the rough that they look very playful, they look very naughty, but sometimes they drop gems of knowledge. They drop gems of knowledge that I'll be like, yeah. I'll be like, you taught me. you know, I have kids like that in my class. There's this child, there's this girl in my class, Aliu. Aliu said, Estima, I don't understand. Estima, I don't understand. But you know the funniest thing? She has the highest score. She has the highest score in my class. But it's just, Estima, I don't understand, so, and that's it. So, and also, I know that, sometimes parents do these things where they have students, when they have their kids have like private teachers. Give the child an opportunity to choose who might be their private teacher, if it's possible. Because a lot of times, teachers also have a way, the way a teacher handles a student sometimes helps them, depends whether or not the child learns. I remember that one of my teachers, who is one of my best friends in the whole wide world, Professor Ahmed Yerima, I remember that we had a class. And I remember I used to be very dramatic. I used to be so dramatic. I remember telling my teacher, I said, it seems I've failed this because it was final year. I finished number one in my classes, but I was still afraid. I said, it was final year. I said, it seems I've failed this course. And it's like, Osunkojo, what's the matter? I'm like, I don't understand this show in cars play. Like, does life have to be so difficult? How can one human being just stress our life with too many metaphors and allegories? And he took his time, he explained, and it was during this time where GDM was like 15 naira per minute. Took his time, except for like 20-30 minutes. I now opened the exam questions. It didn't come out. I was so mad at him. I called him. I said, why? We are being a mean person. You're evil. Why did you just tell me it's not going to come out? He said, Diola, I needed to just know. I needed to just know and learn.
Sorry about that. Looks like the screen just froze on us. But I am sure we are having a great time. I am. It's been a very, very inspiring session.